Hello, Marconi family, and welcome to our Try It Out Tuesday. Today, instead of doing a draw along, we're going to be learning a little bit about plant propagation. So a lot of people have one of these two vining types around their house. So if you have it, you'll get to learn a little bit about them, and if not, I get to show off my plants. So the two vining plants that I'm talking about are pothos and philodendron. So this is a golden pothos, and this is a heartleaf philodendron. So they're both really pretty plants. They grow really, really quickly, which makes them really fun. And I'm excited to share a little bit about them with you today. So today we're going to be talking about 3 different types of propagation, but we're going to only be practicing 2 of them together. So the 3 types of plant propagation, the 3 primary types of plant propagation are water propagating, soil propagating, and root dividing. So we're not going to be doing any root division today. We're just going to do water and soil propagation. So I'll go through what root division means first, just so then you have an idea of what that is, and then we'll get into doing some actual propagation together. So root propagation is pretty common for some plants like Sansevieria. So you can propagate Sansevieria a different way. That's a snake plant for these guys. But usually the way they'll grow, they'll push out lots of new babies from the soil directly, and you don't have to do anything. And then if you want to turn that into more plants, all you have to do is when you go to repot it, break the roots apart, and then you've got a whole new plant. So that's the basic idea of root division, is just taking your plant and breaking it up and spreading that into multiple plants. So what we're going to do today is water and soil propagating, which means that if you want to do some soil propagating, you're going to need some dirt in a pot, and you need some water and shears. That's the other big thing. You're going to need some shears. So if you have pruning shears or if you have scissors, that's all you need. So just make sure that you disinfect them first. So you take a little bit of rubbing alcohol, wipe down the blades. So if you have any pests or diseases on your other plants, they won't spread. So make sure you have your sterilized pruning shears. Okay, so a quick bit of vocabulary on our pothos and philodendron, our vining plants. The big things that you need to know is your inner node, which is the space between your leaves, your node, which is the space that is right where the leaf is, and that's where a lot of your growth is being pushed out. And then you also have your aerial root, which is this little nub here. There's another one there. So those little nubs are aerial roots. This is your inner node, and this is your node. So the reason those are important terms is because you have to know where your node is when you're doing your pruning. And I'll use these terms throughout the video. But one of the big benefits of pruning back your pothos or philodendron is it helps them get nice and bushy and full. So if you have a pothos or philodendron at home that, kind of like this guy, has just gotten really long and lanky, maybe the leaves are small, maybe the spaces between the nodes, those inner nodes, are just starting to get really long, and so what you have is kind of a thin looking plant, and it doesn't look really bushy and full. Like this guy, I've been diligent about pruning, and so now he looks super bushy and full, and you can barely see the pot through all of his pretty leaves. So he's starting to get a little bit lanky down here, so I probably need to do a little bit more pruning. I might do some of that for him today. Yeah, if you want a nice full plant, then this will be a helpful little crash course today. Great, so now that we have our supplies and we know a little bit of our vocabulary, we can start doing a little snip in here. So this guy is getting a little long and lanky, so I'm gonna take some cuttings from him. And so when you do your cuttings in your pothos or your philodendron, you're cutting right above the leaf if you're thinking about it coming away. So if you're holding it up from the pot, you're cutting right above a node, right above that leaf and aerial root. I'm going to cut fairly close to the pot because I want it to start pushing out new growth from there. So let me see if I can do it so that you can see. If I can scooch a little closer. Okay. So there we go. So here's my node. So I'm going to cut right above there. Just a nice clean snip. So now I have this whole guy. And what I'm going to do to soil propagate him is I'm going to cut him into sections. So you want to make sure you keep track of which end is coming from the plant, or that's going to be the part that's going into the dirt. So you want to make sure you don't put them in upside down. So I'm going to cut a little bit closer to that node. So I'm kind of right below the node, because again, that's where all the growth is happening. And then again, I'm going to cut right above the node. So now I have this tiny little section with just the node. And I have to remember, so he was like this, which means he's going to go into the dirt like this. So I remember which way is which here. And all you're going to do is stick him straight into that soil. And you want to fill your pot nice and full. I haven't done too many soil propagations. Usually I like to do water propagations because you get to watch the roots grow. So I'm excited to do this with you guys today. But I'm just going to go through that whole vine and cut it into those small sections. Put them in the dirt. So one by one, poke them on in. And the nice thing about this is if you prune it back, all of those sections that were aerial roots on your main plant, that's where you're gonna push out new growth. So potentially a whole vine could grow from that section, which I've seen on the plant behind me when I've done some pruning with him. He's put out a whole bunch of new growth from that area, which is really exciting to watch. Pothos and philodendron are pretty fast growing plants. So especially this time of year, spring and summer, it's obviously growing season. So everything's growing very quickly. There's lots of sunlight to help with that. It's nice and humid. So everything is pretty happy to be growing for you. Typically, pothos and philodendron like to stay pretty dry. So when you're thinking about taking care of these guys, you don't want them to be wet all the time. You want to let the soil dry out pretty well. So if you are an overwaterer like me, you have to be careful to be patient and let those roots do their work. One way that I use to kind of help me slow down on that is watch the leaves. Pothos, when they're thirsty, will start to curl their leaves at the sides a little bit. Actually, my philodendron here is thirsty, so I can show you. So you can see how the leaves are just starting to curl in. I know he's ready for a drink. I look at the soil. Yep, it's dry. The pot's light because it's not full of moisture anymore. So I know that he is ready now, and I can water him soon. Got just a couple more leaves that I can put in here, and then I'll show you how this looks in the pot. But really, I'm just going through, just like before, cutting above the node and below the node, making sure I'm putting them in the right direction, and moving on. Got a whole new plant in progress here. I don't know, maybe this should be like a giveaway. First person back at the center gets a new pothos. Be kind of fun. Okay. So here's all just from that one vine. I don't know if you can see. It's in there now. So each one I was just gently poking in. Some of them are wobbling. Like that. So now that guy is just going to take some time to get some roots established. So I want to be careful in soil propagating, not to be too quick to water them. I want to, again, like I said, these plants do like their soil to be dry, so I don't want to drown them and then cause any rot to happen. But I'm just going to leave this guy alone, and that's how you do your soil propagation. So next we are going to do some water propagation. Water propagation is my favorite way to propagate plants because you get to see the roots grow. And like I said, a whole variety of plants can be propagated by different means. So like I said earlier, sansevierias are snake plants, typically are propagated by division, but we were curious in my house and we wanted to try some water propagation. So we've had this, I don't know, maybe in here for about a month. But look at those roots. He's got some roots coming out now. So we had cut him on a diagonal and now he's got roots. So we'll probably be able to get him in soil soon. So that's a sansevieria. This is actually also a sansevieria. It's called Sansevieria cylindrica. So they're round instead of flat. And this has tiny little baby roots, but I don't know if you can even see them yet because this is so small. There it is. You can kind of see it right there. Tiny little nub of a root. So I'm definitely going to let that sit in the water a little bit longer before, oh, this one's longer, before we get those anywhere near soil. But that one has a pretty decent root on it. Still going to leave them in there a little while. That's our sansevieria. Oh, I did want to show you this guy because this one was propagated by soil. So just like the method we did earlier, he was pretty much just stuck in the soil. This is a Tradescantia, and it's another really pretty vining plant that grows very quickly. I like the dark purple underneath and the pretty patterns on top. I like the silver and purple. I think it's gorgeous. So lots of different ways to get new plants for free and share plants with friends. So for water propagating with pothos and philodendron, again, it's super easy. The same idea, you're going to cut right above those leaves and then put it in the water, and that's it. So instead of this one having to stick it in the dirt and not really know what's going on, you're going to see that growth happening. Okay, who do I want to cut? I might actually cut some from this plant just because he is really lanky. Yeah, I might take a section. Might take a big section. Okay, I'm going to stand on a chair and I'm going to cut this long vine here. So again, you're going to want to cut. You're going to want to cut right above those leaves, right above that node. Okay, it's gone. So now I have this whole vine to play with, which is really fun. So even if I kept this whole vine together and put them in water, it would grow roots, and that would be fine. But I want to grow more sections. So I'm going to do similar to before, just cut them down into section. But you don't have to cut off quite so much. Whereas before we cut above and below and then stick it in the dirt, we can just cut right below that node, making sure we're leaving our little root there. And then you can even leave a couple leaves on. So I might leave a little bit of a short vine here. So I'm going to do this whole section this way. So it's going to look a little crazy. And I'm going to take this bottom leaf off. You don't want to submerge your leaves in the water because they might start to rot. So I'm going to take that very bottom leaf off, just cut that, snip, and then put him into some water. So you can just use a regular old glass of water. You can use a mason jar, or I don't know what this was from, just an old bottle of something. And so you just go straight in the water, and that's it. So you're going to let that sit until it starts growing roots. Once it has some good healthy roots on it, they're an inch or two long, then you can put them in soil. So that's how you take your cutting. And again, I'll probably take that vine and chop them up more. But this one's been in here a little while. It's another type of pothos. I think this is a marble queen pothos, but don't quote me on that. So you can see this one's starting a little bit to get some longer roots on him. So right there, we got him shooting out, and right here, it's kind of hard to see. Get my white background. But those are starting to grow, so they'll need a little bit longer. But they will keep pushing out roots. And when they're ready, that's how I propagated this plant right here. When they're ready, you're going to put them into your pot with some soil. And the big thing is when you're going from a water cutting into soil, the plant is really used to being completely submerged in water. So even though these plants normally like to be dry, when you take your cutting, you want to be very deliberate about keeping the soil moist for the first month or so. So keep it really moist. Don't let it dry out. And then gradually start slowing down on your watering. Let it get drier, and then keep an eye on it. Let it get drier until you're at your normal watering schedule, which is letting it totally dry out. But I took this cutting and I think I put this in soil about a month and a half ago, and look at all these roots. You can see them all around this beautiful clear pot. And they're even, I don't know if you can see this, they're even coming out the bottom. So that's really exciting. To see this guy get established. And I'm just starting to back down on his watering. So I've been keeping him moist for the last month or so. But I can slowly start easing up on the water now because he has some healthy, strong roots. So that's our water propagating. I really hope that you enjoy experimenting with some water propagating and enjoy your growing at home. I might show you a couple more plants I have around just for fun today. I wanted to show you, so this is a philodendron Brazil, and they have really pretty variegation on them with the dark green and the light green. So we love the philodendron Brazil. And I really do love my heart leaf philodendron right now. This is one that I do think I need to prune. But I have been pruning pretty consistently, so it's nice and bushy and full. Marble Queen, that one's really pretty. And we also have an Enjoy. So this is an Enjoy, and these are really pretty with some white variegation. So you've got your white and your green, and some of them, let's see if you can see on this one, looks a little watercolory in sections too. So that one's really pretty as well. This is commonly known as the Swiss cheese plant, which gets really pretty holes in the leaves. This one's also very easy to propagate by water and by soil, so same thing as we went through today, and then you can share with friends. Another one that's great to propagate by water or soil. This is Rhaphidophora tetrasperma. one's really cool. Also has some cool almost slices in the leaves. And then I forget the name of this one. This guy's actually a little thirsty because this came from water. This was a water propagation, but it's a type of philodendron. And I don't know if you can tell in the video, but it has almost like a fuzzy leaf. So it's kind of like velvety. I guess I would say velvety. But it's really, really gorgeous. It's a deep green, and then on the back, it's almost like a reddish kind of color. So that's a really gorgeous type of philodendron. I think that's all I have for you today. So I hope that you enjoyed this video and that you enjoy pruning and propagating your plants at home, and share some with a fellow Marconi member or friend. Have a great day.